Hey guys and girls, now this interview was with Cav, myself and Tom. Cav is one of our longest term followers at both the system and the Hussla Squad, and we sat down with him in the flesh on the 2nd of September 2022 to basically show and share what an individual has been able to achieve in both of our systems. It was a really nice insight into someone who is an absolutely normal person, young individual, still at university, and he explains what match betting has been able to do for him. He also provides the different perspectives he believes as to why people potentially hate on us, why so many people don't believe this is real. He also shares a funny story about how he came across us and how his goals changed from simply wanting to make his money back to prevent getting scammed to now having outrageous goals going forward with match betting. If you have any questions about what we do here at the system or the Hussla Squad, please don't hesitate to reach out in our DMs on Instagram or check all of the relevant links in the description. We absolutely loved filming this and we love seeing someone in person as opposed to just hearing stories about people that we've been able to help. And it was a nice reward to see that our work is changing people's lives around Australia. We hope you guys enjoy it.
Alrighty, so we're here today. Obviously, we have done a few of these previously where we kind of get a system member or someone from the Hussla Squad in, have a chat to them about their journey, how they found us, where they started, how it's all going. So we've got Cav here today. Welcome, Cav.
Thanks for having me.
And we've obviously got JP as well.
Hello.
So I thought might hand it over to JP today because Cav did start at Hussla Squad, I believe, before coming across to the system.
Yeah.
So maybe if JP wants to have a chat to Cav, and I'll sit here and pop in my 2 cents every now and then. But yeah.
Yeah, so we just met Cav obviously about an hour ago. He's come along to today, but prior to that, he's just a name in our community, and now we've got a face to it. So I guess we'll paint the picture firstly about who you are, what you do. So if you want to kind of share that, unless you want me to specifically ask you questions, but if you want to share who you are.
I'm just a uni student, 22 years old. Was a big lover of sport, so got into gambling probably like most young Aussies, like about 18.
Yeah.
Looking back now, probably not too successful until finding this sort of service. I just do a bit of match betting in my spare time. I'm working full time as well, so just an hour each day probably, and then Saturdays when I find time for it.
Yeah, cool. And where did you find us firstly?
It was in one of those Facebook groups. I saw you put up you had a little conversation going at this guy for being a degenerate, basically, more or less. And it wasn't one of the bigger ones. It was one of the smaller ones because I think you've been kicked out of a couple of the...
Yeah, this was early on when I used to, like, our marketing, we weren't trolling anyone, but we just like converse with people who basically... we may be able to help them, and most people in those groups are literally there to try and win $1 million in one day.
Yeah, exactly. You sort of just getting to the bottom of like, why do you have this psychology? Like, what are your long-term goals from this? And it was sort of like, it must have resonated with me. So I sent you a DM and you sent me these voice recordings about like, oh, if you're serious about it, listen to all these. And so I went through all that.
Yeah, nice.
And signed up to the free course first.
Yeah.
Had a look at that, liked what I was hearing. Must admit, I was probably a bit skeptical at first. I suppose anyone in my situation would be.
Yeah,
Most are.
We're a random person on the Facebook group.
Yeah,
probably
exactly. Like
high chance he's a scammer.
Yeah, what's this pyramid scheme basically?
Yeah.
But no, I went through the free course. Like it made sense to me because I've obviously been around gambling for a while, so I understand, and I sort of understand the maths behind it. I'm doing finance at uni, so
yeah.
It was all resonating with me, so I jumped into the Platinum Squad and haven't looked back.
You joined what, middle of last year or something? Or
I think it was June last year.
Yeah, cool. And then you don't want to talk specifically about how much you've made, so let's ask the question: what has it enabled you to be able to do in terms of financially or anything else?
Financial freedom. It's probably just having more, just a bit of a safety net almost. Like, still living at home, so I don't have as many overheads as some other people. So it's really just helping build up that savings, especially when you're going out buying 1,000 beers every week. It can definitely take a hit. So it's really just a second stream of income, which as a uni student, you definitely need because I'm only working 2 days a week. It's really just been a secondary source of income that has allowed me to, keep living my life how I want to do it and go on holidays and buy some nice dinners for the missus and really just enjoying what it's been able to provide financially.
Yeah, cool. And in terms of what you've done so far, obviously you joined Platinum first. How long until you joined the system?
I reckon it was probably a month,
Yeah.
and I reckon I was like, all right, this is good. Like if something's sitting right in front of me, like you can maximize it. Like you're a big advocate for it, obviously, and it's sitting right in front of me. I'm like, well, I know all this is legit, so this is obviously also legit. So got into it straight away. I think I started off with like $50 units, and you guys were like, oh, okay, this guy's serious. Like he knows he's not just here for...
Not here to fuck around, basically.
Not here to fuck around, not here to fuck spiders.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then I reckon it was probably a couple of weeks, and I'm like, well, this is awesome, so let's up it. So I've been at 100 ever since.
So pretty much, I mean, this is something that would not be recommended. I was going to say,
yeah. I was going to just say that back when you started as well, it was probably a little bit easier with defense and sustainability, and you obviously come across with Platinum Squad knowledge. But for those watching this that are thinking, you know, it's just going to be, you know, all sunshine and rainbows, just going to jump across the system, there's no possibility, even if you come from Platinum Squad, that we would recommend anybody starts on a $50 unit size now. Obviously, it was different then, and we did have conversations with you, and we understood that you were pretty cluey and switched in, and obviously you had, or switched on, should I say, and you also had the bankroll that was allowing you to do so. Whereas, yeah, compared to now, the game's changed significantly. And although we're keen to have Platinum Squad members as part of our community, and, you know, we know that they're going to be the most profitable and the most efficient, it's still important that we get people in, regardless of their experience, to at least understand the system first. So you're probably a bit of a unicorn in that situation, because I honestly, off the top of my head, can't think of too many other subscribers that would have started and sustained what they've done properly from a $50 or $100 unit size from the start. So that's a testament to you. Obviously, you are a pretty clever individual, but we build the content and everything for people to start from the absolute bottom, regardless of where they've come from. So yeah, if you're listening to that's an exception to the rule, and I'm glad that it's worked for you and you've kept your accounts. But the reality is, you know, we don't want to be selling these unrealistic expectations. So
yeah, of course. I think the thing is, as I said, I'm still living at home, so I can afford to. I just saw it as an investment, which I think a lot of people probably should. But I don't really have, you know, rent to pay or, you know, kids to feed every week. So it really allowed me to sort of see it as an investment. And I think, all right, well, I'm still young. I want to be aggressive with my investment straight away. And it's obviously providing a pretty nice return. So
what would you say has changed? As you said, you came across JP on a Facebook group and you're like, you know, this guy might be a scammer, but I'll listen. He seems like he's talking some sense.
Yeah.
Go through some voice recordings, then you go through the free content, purchase the Platinum Squad. When you purchased it, what do you think, best case scenario, what were you thinking was going to happen? Like, were you thinking I'm going to make a few $100 here, hopefully I get my investment and some back? Like, what was the thought process when you first started it?
Yeah, well, obviously I was hoping I'd get my investment back to start with, and I think there was like some profit guarantee anyway. So that
we still have
helped.
that, but it's not something we like to push too much, because we get the wrong people. Because if someone sees, okay, you've got a profit guarantee if you don't make your course fee back in the first month, people then try and do that.
Right.
And then now we've changed it to be like more setting up your account in the first month as opposed to chasing profit. So it's still there, but you shouldn't be aiming to finish your match betting journey in 1 month. It should be never finishing. And the way you do that is to set up the first month. Maybe not make as much profit in the short term, but then you're going to be passing everyone else later. So, yeah. For you, getting your money back was your aim, but then...
I suppose so. I just didn't want it to be a scam. But like I said, I sort of understood the numbers behind it. I'm like, what you're saying is making sense. But, you know, it was still a bit of an investment for someone that I've never met before.
Definitely.
But, yeah, I'm glad I did. So
yeah, cool. And then, were you going to go?
Oh, I was just going to say, compared to like... Now, for example, I'm assuming that it's gone above and beyond what you expected at the start. And do you reckon that would be the same for most people?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it depends where your expectations are to begin with. Obviously, if you've got a pretty high expectations, then it's hard to top. But I think most reasonable people will have their expectations exceeded, no doubt.
And was it, just touching back on one other thing you said, what was the draw card that took you from, okay, this guy seems like he's talking some sense on Facebook. What was the turning point, or the point where you're like, all right, I believe what's being said enough. I know you said you understand the numbers, but where was it the personal voice messages, or was it after you'd gone through the free course? What was the moment where you were like, shit, I might have actually found something. This could be like, these guys might be legit. Like when did that happen?
Well, I booked a call early days, and we sort of just went through a couple reservations that I had, but they weren't massive. But that probably wasn't the turning point. It was probably once I got in there, seen the massive community, and understood like, oh, okay, so these people we're all sort of in it together. Like, they've obviously been doing the same thing that I will hopefully be able to do. That was probably like the switch flicking, going, all right, like there's something here. Like, we only had I don't know what the community would have been back then.
June last year, probably, I reckon no more than 120 maybe.
So it's obviously grown since then, but even like just 100 people was probably enough to be like, oh, okay, they're onto something here. These guys have obviously stuck around. Unless you had like 90 very good bots.
Yeah. I mean, when we get those comments...
I was going to say, there's been claims and stuff like that. They're
it's
all,
like, what?
They're all fake.
You have to be like setting up a fairly good operation to be able to do that.
Oh, it'd be worth
and
it.
Also,
if you pay $1,000 and we've got 100 bots going, it's absolutely worth
$1,980 people in the free chat as well that are commenting every Saturday.
Do we do well to run all those accounts on the side?
Like,
Fuck, I've got to log into the
puppets
other
everywhere
one.
and shit.
It's pretty hard to make a bot come in and do a podcast, but I can understand like sort of where they're coming from in terms of the psychology of not wanting other people to be successful. But the ones I don't get, it's like, they're hating because match betting, like you didn't invent match betting, like there's other services that do this sort of thing. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, man, but like I've paid them for this service and you've delivered, you've exceeded my expectations. So it's like, if I could link it to like, if I engage a painter to paint my house and they come over and they do a good job, you don't have 50 other people saying, yeah, but what about this painter? What about this painter? He didn't invent painting.
Yeah.
Like, that's a great point.
That's elite.
Yeah, it's like, like I've paid you for the service. The service has been good. It's exceeded my expectations. Like, just go with it. Like, of course you didn't invent match betting, but
we never claimed to.
I was going to say that's never been a claim either. Like I think the stuff that you do say, and I believe that it's true. It's like, obviously you get what you pay for, and I don't think that there are of course other match betting services, but I can't really think of any off the top of my head that even come close to what's provided as part of Platinum Squad.
Everyone can teach you how to make the money. Like, that's not the hard part, as you would probably know now, being involved with it. And defense is what I think, I guess, is our point of difference. Separates us from everyone else. And whether that be like a PDF that someone else may be providing and claiming that that's defense, or a 5-minute video. We've got like 4 hours worth of videos, and we're about to go again with more content, because it's constantly like evolving and changing. And if you're not on top of that, you're done. Like, if you had a defense course 5 years ago, that it's literally invalid now. Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
like, we were talking before
about it. Yeah, exactly. Like,
and when we used to do this like 4 or 5 years ago, the promos were not even fucking capped. Like, it was a piss take. But that's not applicable now. So if you want to do this, do it properly, because you'll get banned. Simple. And it's getting worse.
Ever-changing landscape.
100%.
Like, you really need to stay on top of things.
And if people want to go and come into the Platinum Squad, do that. But if you don't want to, well, you also have, it's a free world. So we're not holding you ransom to do that.
The other thing as well, I think, is you do still touch on like some basics of sustainability or defense, whatever we want to call it, in the free course, which I think a lot of free material that's provided doesn't do anything like that. And the other thing about like free courses and stuff is that it's all the content together in one logical progression. Like, it explains it all. Do this before you do this, before you do this, before you do this. No one's claiming that it's stuff that isn't on the internet, but it's the fact that it's all packaged in a nice little 2-hour course for you to go through, and then there's a quiz at the end to test your knowledge, and then you move on. If you don't, if you finish the free course, you're going to have skills, as you would have learnt, that you have the ability to go and, if you want to go and chase bonuses or whatever, you can go do that. You're going to make rookie mistakes. You're going to probably lose your accounts in the long term, but you've still spent 2.5 hours and learnt a new skill. You've got knowledge that you didn't have prior. So you really have nothing to lose apart from 2.5 hours of your time. And then for those ones that want to take it more seriously, there's now 450 people in the Platinum Squad?
452 or something.
452. Yeah. So of the almost 7,000 people that have done the free course, there's only 450. Well, no, I say only. That's an amazing number of people in there that are doing it. But there's only a small percentage that are going to go to the next level, and that's understood. But I think that's why the ones that are in there are so successful. And as you alluded to before we started recording, you've been speaking to other guys that are part of the community, and you know, some of them are doing it even more advanced or taking it more seriously than you, and you're just like, wow, like I can't believe that that they're doing that. And that's the beauty of match betting. Or once you get the skills and knowledge, everybody can do it a little bit differently to however it works for them.
Yeah. And just like having a multitude of experiences, because like so many different people will deal with so many different bookies, just being able to compile all of those together and being like, oh, well, this is my experience with them. So obviously this bookie doesn't like this, or this bookie doesn't like this. It's invaluable. Like,
yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like we've got our course, but then that's probably half of it. You've got, like you said, 400 people who are anecdotally explaining what's happening to them. And that's then enabling us to constantly change information and
Live
making
feedback.
sure that we're literally ahead of something that might be only found out 6 months ago if we were only doing it ourselves. So community will always beat one brain or two brains. Like
100%.
And when you surround, like if you go from losing or whatever, I find it the system, which is a bit different to Hussla Squad, but so many people that we speak to, they're like, look, mate, I've seen your TikToks, I've seen your shit on Instagram. I'm coming across here because I keep losing every weekend and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop. And you guys seem to be able to, you know, change people's minds. Like that's what they say. Like we're not mind readers and stuff, but when you are in a chat and we back 3 losers in a row, right? And there are people going, oh, fuck, or, you know, oh, this is the same as every other service. And then there's like 30, 40, 50 other subscribers in there going, relax, guys, you've been here for 3 tips. You know, if you follow this for a month, do it properly, you will be profitable.
Yep.
It's easier for people to hear that from other people as opposed to us because we're the people selling the content, right? So regardless if you believe us or not, of course we're going to tell you that because, you know, oh, these guys are making money out of us. Of course they're going to tell us it works. But when you're surrounded by other people that don't have any vested interest in it and have followed it for months and have made profit off it, and they're like, guys, just be patient, like relax. For example, we went minus 14, I think, 2 weeks ago.
10.4.
What for the whole week though?
Minus
13 or 14 for the whole week. And then there was a couple of people in there going, God, like I know this is going to happen. Like I knew this would have happened when I signed up. And then the week after we go plus 17 or whatever. And there's a few guys in there going, don't know why you guys are always worried. Don't know why you guys are always stressed. If you zoom out on the graph, you see the long term. And that's the beauty of being part of that community is we can't tell you do this, and be disciplined because it's pretty hard to do. But when you see other people making money and being disciplined, it's like, oh, fuck, if they can do it, then I can do it. And it helps people massively.
I think it speaks volumes about the strength of the community, as you said, when you got blokes that are not making a profit off other subscribers going into bat for you saying like, just stick around, man. Like just be here for the long term, because I think it's from a subscribers perspective, like we want to help them. Like we want to share the knowledge around as well. So it's like, nah, man, like we can assure you, like just stick it out. You'll be right. Like you've made a good investment. Don't throw it away. Like no need to get emotional now. That sort of thing.
So obviously, you know, you speak to your mates and we were talking about the community. What do your mates think about match betting? Have you ever spoken to them about it before? What's the conversation?
So I tell them about it a bit. I tell them about like, they know what I'm doing on Saturdays, and they know it's not just, you know, degenerate gambling for lack of a better term. But I don't know. I've tried to bring a couple people over to it. I think it's just they don't want to invest the time. They don't want to sit down and learn a proper course, because I told them, like, you know, you do a proper course, you go through it, you learn all the right steps. So I'd say it would be a time thing. Like we are all working full-time or full-time uni students as well. So
do they believe it?
They believe it, yeah. I mean, they see me, like, I speak to some people and they're like, oh, you're on $100 units. And they're like, oh yeah, right. Okay. Well, it seems to be working for you. So go on. But they won't,
it doesn't make sense.
They won't sit down. Some of them aren't massive gamblers either. And I think the psychology of like removing gambling from betting. Like I don't say I gamble anymore. I just say I'm betting today. Yeah. Not I'm gambling.
Of course.
So I think,
that's a great point, because I think a lot of people do say that I'm betting, but it's like, no, you're gambling.
Yeah.
Like, we're betting. You're gambling.
Yeah. That's been something that's come up on a lot of TikTok comments, and people say, oh, gambling, betting, same thing. It's like, no,
they're definitely not.
Yeah. But it's very
like
hard to tell that to someone.
Or gambling is very, very,
very,
different.
very different.
And even people listening to this will just laugh at it. But once you see the mathematical side of it versus one, and what the difference is, one's placing one bet and hoping it wins. The other one's placing multiple bets and mathematically hedging and all these kind of things. Yeah, but I
always use the coin metaphor with friends. So I always say, like, imagine you're flipping a coin, you lose 50 cents every time it's tails, and you win $2 or something every time it's heads. You might get 3 tails in a row, you're losing, but long term, like, you just can't lose.
Literally upside down. So that's the first example in the Platinum Squad.
100%.
So what's the other thing I was going to ask? Do you have any questions for him? Oh, actually, when you're following the system, have you ever had days or weeks where obviously you've been on for a year. I think you're into your second yearly sub.
Yeah.
Has there been times where you've got emotional or not followed correctly or struggled with discipline or anything like that?
Yeah, there was one time I like to keep things random. I like to do, like, say I have $145.36 in the account. I put $45.36 on. So I went to go put $52.70 on, and I accidentally missed the decimal point. So I put $527 on a horse.
Win or lose?
And it lost.
Nice.
And it was winning like down the straight as well.
Oh no!
When did you work it out?
Like as soon as I put the bet on, but obviously it's like right before the jump, so I didn't have time to call them up and say, "Can you avoid that one?" So that's obviously very emotional, but obviously that was a mistake.
Was that early on?
Not really. So I sort of knew like, no, it was probably like about 6 months in or something. So I'm like, oh, geez, it's a bummer, but like I know in the long term, it'll just be
mistakes happen.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
I mean, that's probably the only thing apart from, well, there's 3 things that can stop you from making money in match betting. The first one is a mistake. Realistically, if you keep doing it though, like in the long term, a mistake's going to be irrelevant.
Yeah.
Second one is your discipline and actually following the correct instructions. And then the third one is your account's getting banned. So yeah, I mean, mistakes. 6 years of match betting, I lost 2,800 on one race just off double laying the same horse.
Yeah.
So it happens.
No, I've had a mistake in my favour. Exactly. You're going to make mistakes early days, especially. It all comes down the wash. Exactly. It's favourite term of the system. But it's true. So like early days, maybe I reckon the first time I subscribed, I probably lost the first few races. And I was thinking, oh, geez, I'm not too sure about it. I had a profitable day, had 30 people in the chat being like, that's why you don't jump off. That's why you don't jump off. And really haven't looked back since then. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I'm in now, like I understand it and like just haven't looked back. So losing days, it's just like, whatever. I really,
they're going to happen.
I still watch the races every time because it's pretty fun.
No,
so
it is
I get
definitely
emotional.
fun, yeah.
I get emotional riding a horse home for a good reason, but if it loses, it's not even the end. Never the end of the world.
And that's the difference. You can get emotional, and we used to do the same thing. We'd like ride the hell out of them, basically, and but 100%. That doesn't then change how we act on the next race.
Exactly,
which is what an investor does. Versus, I mean, investors aren't riding horses, but
what's what I say in like when people join. I say to them, like, the first couple of weeks is going to be a bit of a learning curve. It might be a little bit of a grind. Like, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. But once you get through it and you understand what's going on and you have the understanding, what's required of you, we do expect that it will be fun for you. Some people do it purely as an investment and they don't even watch the races. But for those people that bet every Saturday, watch every single Melbourne and Sydney metro race, like, you should be following the system because you're going to get the thrill of watching the horses, riding the horses. Of course, we want them to win, but we're doing that with the safety net, knowing that we're going to be making profit in the long term. We have the edge, we have the promo insurance. So if you follow the instructions, you're not going to be losing in the long term. You're going to be profiting. Plus, as you said, there will be days when we make, 15, 20 units. And of course, it's a thrill to ride them home. Like if you're betting $100 units, you're not gambling. You're betting it through the system. But if you have $100 on a $4 pop as part of the system, of course you want it to win. And of course, that's going to be exhilarating. Though you've made a lot of profit over your time, $300 is $300, like profit. 100%. And if you want it to win, that's still exciting. So that's a great part of the system. We're not telling you don't have to, stop gambling. We're not going to be your parents if you want to do whatever you want to do outside of the system. But we feel like we provide that environment where you can do it with a safety net. We're going to be profitable in the long term. And it kind of feeds that thrill that you get of gambling, but we're, betting in a systematic nature.
Well, I think a good example of it would be I would say to people, oh no, I'm working Saturdays, like when I'm doing the system, like they know I'm betting, but I literally say like, well, I said this is work for me, so I've removed the emotion from it. But bloody hell, it's more fun than accounting work, that's for sure. Like I still see it as work, but
no, it's the best.
It's the best work.
I miss it, to be honest. Like we don't do it as much.
But we always say like, oh, we should spend a weekend. We should just spend a weekend, go back to the good old days. Like there's like 70 bookies in Australia. I don't have 45 of them. Like,
same. Like
why don't we just spend a Saturday doing it?
We have another time, but I definitely through spring I'm going to definitely do a couple of weekends. We'll probably tee up again and sit down in front of the computer.
But it is fun, and if you do it, like for example, you're doing it on your own and you're enjoying that journey. journey. But we have a few people be like, oh, my mates are on it, I want to get on it as well. And they sit together with their laptops on a Saturday. No, they're not drinking beers. No, they're not, they're not gambling like they normally would, but they're making money together, and then you can go drink your beers and they're free. Like,
you can still drink beers while doing it.
yeah, if you want.
A few of the subs get on there, send in some selfies with the beers and stuff.
Yeah, I don't usually take too many beers into work at 2:00 on a Monday at the accounting firm. But
you can on a Saturday.
Yeah, that's the difference in jobs, really.
Well, that's the fun thing. Like, people always say it's not fun what we do, but I can promise you, like, go in the free chat and see if it's fun. Like, it's more than just profit now, because it's so large in terms of everyone's. It's almost like, I don't want to say it's like a cult,
have beers,
but it's fucking.
Yeah, it's cultish.
Well, no, it's good though, because we've got sayings, we've got people that have been there for over a year, people that would they're just never going to jump off because they know it's going to keep making them money. So
I've got a question for you. I don't know like how much longer until we wrap it up, but I've got a question around how much have you invested in the education and the subscriptions across Hussla Squad and the system, approximately?
I was on a $550 yearly for the system, so 2 lots of that, 1,100. No, the Hussla Squad would have been about 1,000. Invested in a couple like monitors and that sort of thing, so you get a bit of a better setup and a new phone and that sort of thing. So probably 2,500, 3,000, I'd say.
So a common message we get, feedback or haters, is like, who the fuck would pay for that? What are they paying for? Why would they pay for that? That's a rip off. Like, in your eyes, genuinely, this isn't making a mockery of people, but you've just said you've invested $3,000. Even if it was $5,000, do you reckon that investment's worth it?
100%. Well, it's
I know
if you look at the net profit, of course.
Yeah.
But why? So is it because you're making profit like in 4 weeks, or is it because you can keep making it? Like, what is it? Why is it worth it?
Well, I suppose like any investment, you just need to look at it as an investment. And once the investment breaks even to start with, like you just, the wealth of knowledge that like that's not going away. I would recommend going on a yearly, obviously, but obviously new subscribers might not want to do that straight away. But if you just look at it as an investment, and then once the returns start coming in, like if you invest in a stock or something, see it go up straight away, like you can just, I don't know how to articulate it, but
it's like you get, it's like going to the gym and getting results. You want to keep going.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So that $5,000 I didn't put down on the table straight away and say, here, take my money. So it's over like a year and a bit. And yeah, once you start to believe in it a bit more, you start investing more time in it firstly, and then you can invest more money in it as well. So like, obviously if I'm like, well, this is working, I'm enjoying it, might as well buy a new monitor, like give myself a bit more enjoyability out of it.
So obviously we were touching on like patience, right? And a lot of our subscribers start on $10 to $15 units and work their way through. And if they get through that 2 to 3 month starting period where they go through the growing pains, set up their accounts properly, if they're following on $10 units, on average, they're going to have made around about close to 100 units profit. We average about 30-ish, 32 units profit. So they're going to be close to 100 on average over a 3 month period. So they're going to have gone from $1,000 bankroll to close to $2,000. Then they can start following on a $15, $20 unit size. And what they were doing in the first 3 months, they're doing the exact same thing now. But in the long term, their profit size, is going to start doubling. And that's the mindset that these new subscribers have to take, because as you're saying, if you just stick it out and follow it properly and remain patient, in 12 months time, your bankroll would have, on average tripled, quadrupled. You can follow with a larger unit size and you're doing the exact same thing. You become more efficient, more, it's just, I just wish that we could fast forward people to 12 months and be like, this is what you'll be. And this is what these videos and recordings are for. Like, this is what somebody can be in 12 months if you follow it and do it properly. And you can sit here going, yeah, it's a no-brainer. I would definitely invest that money again. But it is hard for us to get that across to people because we've done it for years and they think we're selling them something. So it's nice to hear like your perspective on that.
Well, the only thing I would say is you're probably going to punt that $10, $15 a unit elsewhere if you're not in it. So why not give it a shot? You hear a few anecdotes of people like me saying it's got to be worth it. And if you're still not a believer in it, well, just start with $10 units. Like, chances are the people that are coming across are punting on a Saturday anyway. So I'm sure you've probably said it before, but why not give it a go and have the patience to sort of see where it leads? Yeah,
it's not going to be ever for everyone, but
of course.
We've got 400 and something now in the channel.
412, I think, or something. Yeah.
450 in Hussla, and it's definitely becoming more and more people realizing it. You can't really hide for 2.5 years of being a company in the social media. Like, you run away eventually. You can't delete shit. So, I guess take it like that. You can. A lot of people say, like, I reached out this week to try and find, like, there was one guy I wanted to interview this week, and I wanted to check in on his progress. And all he said was, I haven't really made that much money because I haven't had that much time, but I've literally stopped gambling altogether.
Yeah,
and like, that's worth X to whatever. If he's losing 100, 200 a weekend, suddenly he's not lost that anymore. He's up. And most people won't even, they'll say, oh, you haven't made any money. You have, because he's not lost 200 a weekend.
Yeah, it is a massive shift. And just the psychology of it all as well, like not going out and, losing those bets as well, getting more emotional and then betting more. And then the cycle sort of breaks. And a lot of people need that circuit breaker to change.
Do you think you ever would have gone down that pathway if you hadn't seen this? Like, were you ever like that?
I can certainly say that I'm glad I did, but I don't think, like, I'm not.
Don't seem
I
like
wasn't an idiot gambler. I probably justified it with, it's a bit of fun, but you can tell, like, I'm sure looking at the graph, it was probably heading in a downward direction. But for the couple hottest 100 wins,
I think that's the last story. That's the last question. But when you mentioned your graph, like, for example, the average punter's graph will be, it's going to end up like this over your lifetime. So even if JP was saying that guy's like, I have stopped gambling, if your graph goes like this, as opposed to going like this, that's the difference. Yeah. So if you can get your graph to start going like this, as opposed to going like this, the difference only grows. So if you just stop losing or stop gambling to start, you're already massively in front over your 10, 15, 20-year period, because, gamblers are going to lose tens of thousands of dollars. So, yeah, that's a great mindset to have. And a lot of new subscribers that come across here literally say, I need to stop gambling. I'm sick of losing every weekend. I just want to start understanding what you guys do. And when they come with that mindset, they don't leave.
Any finishing messages for punters in Australia? Just generally, not say whatever you want.
Down the barrel and send them home.
You're a fucking idiot. Just give it a go. You got nothing to lose, really. I can certainly remember, like, think back to a few times in lockdown. It certainly made lockdowns very fun. Then even after we got out of lockdowns, get on some races in the morning, make your money, go out and just have a nice weekend,
Go out. Hope you're not telling Dan Andrews that you went out during lockdown. Man.
Oh, maybe not during lockdown, more when we're coming out of lockdowns, but it's just nice to have, fair few drinks paid for, sometimes the night paid for, sometimes the next 3 weekends paid for. So what do you got to lose is what I would say.
Too easy. Well, we both really appreciate you coming in to do this. Hopefully it helps a lot of punters that watch this that are potentially on the fence or haven't even seen it before change, how they think about it. And I'm glad that it's been a successful journey for you, and hopefully you're here for many years to come.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hopefully we got, exactly, a few more to come.
Nice. It's nice to see someone in the flesh as opposed to hearing, hey, I've made XYZ profit, but don't know who the hell he is. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks for coming on.
Cool.
See you next time.
Cheers.
Cool.
All right, guys, let's welcome Cav, who's been a long-term subscriber of both the system and the Hussla Squad.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Start that again.
Oh my god, that's the best thing ever.
That'll make the.
That's gonna make the best blooper.
Fuck.
Cav, yeah.
Cav. Yeah.
What's your name?
Tom.
Thanks.
Is JP your actual name?
Probably know my address.
Is JP your actual name?
No, you never know.
Okay. Fair enough.
You'll never know my actual name. I'm a mystery,
Very
man.
mysterious.